Three school friends who had turned out to be a pharmacognosist, botanist, and a chef met after long years. They wanted to show off their knowledge. On the edge of the road stood an amla tree. They decided to interpret the tree according to their knowledge. They asked a random guy who was passing by to listen their interpretations and assess them. The botanist started off. This belongs to NA5 Kanchan variety of Indian gooseberry, botanically named Phyllanthus emblica. The feathery leaves are linear oblong, subsessile, and resembles pinnate leaves. The greenish yellow flowers formed in the axillary cluster give rise to globose fruits. And this perennial tree has glabrous stem. Next, it was the pharmacognosist's turn. He said, one can easily extract ascorbic acid, flavonoids like quercetin, alkaloids like phyllantin and phyllanidin from this. Besides this, we can also isolate gallic acid, methyl gallate, coralagin, furosin, glutamic acid, proline, aspartic acid, alanine, cysteine, etc. from this. Hearing this, the chef started. The best dish you can make out of Indian gooseberry, in my opinion, is the Tangy Amla Chutney. Wash the amlas, remove the seeds and cut into small pieces. Along with this, add fresh coriander, green chilies, cumin seeds, ginger, garlic, sugar, and salt, and grind these together to make a smooth chutney. In the final grind, you may add lemon juice. A ground paste of grated coconut can also enhance the taste and give you a creamy blend. This delicious dish may be taken with any of the rotis and also with South Indian dishes like dosa, idli, etc. Finishing their interpretations, they turned to the random guy, expecting that it would be very difficult for him to decide who was the best. But he replied at once, I would choose the chef as the best. I just have the basic education and I rarely understood a word of what the pharmacognosist and the botanist spoke. But in case of the chef, I understood each word of what he said. What do you think about this? Why was the layman able to understand only the chef and not the other two? The answer is simple. With a basic education and with a normal social life for several years, the layman was very familiar with ginger, amla, chutney, grated coconut, and chilies. So something that was spoken with these terms was easily understood by the layman. Whereas he didn't know what a pinnate leaf was or what ascorbic acid was, and so the explanation given by the chef alone was easily understood by him. But does that mean a bachelor's degree in culinary arts is better than being a pharmacognosist or a botanist? No, all three are equally important. The only difference is that to make a layman understand what pinnate leaves are, first he will have to be taught about what phyllotaxy is and what are the different types of phyllotaxy. He will have to be taught the language of botany. Similarly, to make a layman understand what the three doshas of Ayurveda are, he needs to be taught the language of Ayurveda. The word ascorbic may sound absurd and gives no sense to a layman who is ignorant about acids. Having gone through the present primary education system, where we start by learning that human body is made up of cells and continue to learn that for long 12 years, a view that human body is made of doshas, dhatus and malas will sound completely insane. Just as the person who easily identifies the tangy amla chutney in the gooseberry tree fails to visualize the pinnate leaves and ascorbic acid in the same gooseberry tree. The subject is the same gooseberry tree, which is the sum total of the tangy chutney, the pinnate leaves, and the ascorbic acid. But what the eyes see depends on what the mind knows, and quite often, the eyes see only what the mind wants to know. No system of medicine is wrong as long as the system continues to give results. But we must accept the fact that each system has its own approach to human body. The understanding of each approach depends on the processing that one's intellect has gone through and the style of primary education one has received. The visualization of Tangy Amla Chutney in a gooseberry tree does not make the visualization of pinnate leaves or ascorbic acid in the same gooseberry tree wrong. They just serve different purposes. Similarly, the modern medicine's concept of breaking down the body into systems and organs and tissues is based on a reductionist approach. This is very different from the holistic consideration of the doshas being the basic functional entities of the body in Ayurveda. These considerations have their own strengths and weaknesses, having underwent the basic primary education that is available now, which is based on a view that human body is made of cells. The former tends to be more appealing to any common man who lives in our society. But the inability of a science to explain one of its concepts to someone who does not know the language of that science can never be taken as a determining factor to assess its quality. If you want to know a science, you first have to learn the language of that science. If you want to know what happens in CA rectum, you are first expected to know what a cell is. Similarly, if you want to know what dosha in Ayurveda is, you are first expected to know what Mahabhuta is. So, let us not criticize any science blindly and learn to accept the fact that there can be more than one correct view on the same subject. Your ability to understand just one of the different views is not the limitation of the other views, but is the limitation of your understanding.